Spartans Elite, and we're back with the review of yesterday's op. Now it says 156, but both SD and I were on last night, and we saw our team up at 154. But we're not going to raise a big stink with Supercell about this. But when we clicked on high score, it definitely showed us at 154 as a peak position instead of 156. But like I say, we'll not worry about that just yet. So let's get to yesterday's action, which was a win, which is a little bit of a rarity these days. We've been having a lot of problems closing choke point out. But let's start with ribbon cable and fingers attack. This is the classic base, which is oh so difficult to solo. So he's going to sneak the girls in from behind there. Take out all the rockets. And now a massive clearing. Dumps that extra GBE on those rockets. And at this point, it's really just a clearing party. I said in yesterday's video, this is a lot like quick charge, where you kind of get into this time element, and for whatever reason, I think the shield is bigger here on ribbon cable, but boy, I don't know that I've ever seen this one soloed. We usually just end up doing exactly what we have here, which is having the first guy clear everything up north, and it takes the second guy to come in with all Zukas and polish that off. Here is TN Bob on Dredge. Now this is normally a base that we get the solo on. I haven't actually seen what happened to Bob here and why the base didn't drop. So watching this for the first time together, this is the way I prefer to attack Dredge too. I use the same approach earlier in the week. Farm as much GBE as you can, and there was a lot to farm this time, as there were no rockets in range there. Oh, okay. The girls took a bit of a different path. So yeah, he just didn't have enough girls to finish because he lost so many there. Well, that was unfortunate. Second round of shocks. Looks like he's almost gonna do it. Let's zoom in here. How many? Right at the end, yeah, a couple. Well, that came down mostly to losing what looked to be about half of his troops to that rocket. Now here's Lance taking skanks, which is something we normally don't use here. But this fell, and at the end of the day, all that matters is if the base falls or not. So watch this together, coming in from the right side. Okay, and now the smoking begins. So the shock launchers are taking out the Scorchers, leaving the tanks to do all the damage. Scorcher's drying all the fire. And down she goes. Well, well, well. Very nicely done there, Lance. Skanks. It definitely worked. Not something we normally do, but it definitely worked. Okay, here's SD on Complex, and I believe what's going to happen here is clearing. He's just going to clear the beach and surrounding areas. A little quick on the smoke for Spark, but doesn't want to be late either. Taking the rocket out. Taking an MG out. Come back. Here come the rest of the troops and some shocks. Yep. Now, SD's plan is to work all of these flamethrowers, machine guns, and work up to this laser, which is what he's doing, and then he's going to try to clear everything so that the next guy to follow will not have any smoke needed in and around the beach area. He can just save that GBE for smoking up around the core for the kill shot. And with this many Zukas left and mostly single shots, yep, there he goes, clearing the mines, setting up that eventual finish point. And let's look here. Yep, just again, you know, cannons, boom cannons, they'll kill anything in one shot. But as you see there, still probably 50 Zukas left. A little bit of rocket. Oh, the rocket's going to be problematic there, but yeah, perfect. And now you can see that troops can land here on the beach, and they will not need to be smoked until they're probably a third of the way up to the core. And that was precisely perfect there by SD. Okay, and here we go, setting Spartacus up. We'll fast forward the walk, textbook as always, and then from there, intermediate point, second intermediate point, and then eventual kill zone. Nice recovery there because the girls kind of pathed out of the way he was projecting. Triple shock, and this should drop before the shock wears out, and it will. Well, I hope you guys caught that. The mines that were behind this masterpiece, the girls started to flare in that direction, and Spartacus quickly sent a barrage up there to clear that out. Otherwise, he would have lost that entire brigade of girls. So nice thinking on his feet. All right, he used Achilles on Waterloo. Waterloo and Dioxin, for those of you familiar with it, are kind of... Now, let's see, did he remember the mine that's up there? Ooh, forgot that mine that's behind the core. That can sometimes prove costly. Let's see if the girls walk in or spread into it. No, he keeps them just out of that range. Or does he? Yep. And just ever so late on the shocks. And again, not the single Achilles out because we all do it, but yeah, the thing I try to preach to those of you who are trying to learn the Smoky Zuka approach is that you want to throw those shocks, you know, yes, on time's the goal, but in the debate of early versus late, always throw them early. It is better to get 9 seconds worth of Zuka damage with all your troops than 10 seconds with half of them. Now, Azim, who is still kind of learning the Smoky Zuka, is trying... He said he wanted a shot at this core from the underside. And as long as he hits his shock points, this will be no problem. Now you see how those shocks were nice and early. He knew he didn't need the full 10 seconds of Zuka damage, so he threw them nice and early, and all his girls were intact. Now, in a normal situation, you wouldn't necessarily maybe go that early, but the point remains the same. Better to be early on shocks than late. Okay, here's Bix, who is obviously the main man on Dioxin. And here he goes. Perfect pathing here on Waterloo. He knows he doesn't need all 10 seconds, so I think the shocks will be nice and... Okay, perfect timing. Not early, but just perfect timing. You see the rockets did turn, so that was textbook. There's a reason Bix is... you know, all these guys are good. You know, every once in a while, you know, I've flubbed up an attack. Almost everybody has, even Juicers and Bix, who are probably just 2 as good as any, and T and Bob right up there. You know, every time, every once in a while, we'll all have a little faux pas, as I totally had here yesterday in cleaning up ribbon cable. I just dumped some GBE. That was maybe not even necessary for me to use up, because it ended up costing me a bit more GBE than I was planning on. Let's go 4x here. And then, yeah, I threw that one. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think God's honest truth is I sneezed at some point during that landing, and it just threw me off something kind of wickedly fierce. So this is a pretty good example of what not to do in op attacks. Pay attention to your landing. This is obviously a sitting duck, and I lost 1/3 of my troops, which was not a very impressive accomplishment. So file that one under what not to do in future attacks, for those of you using this as a learning. Okay, so Juice, where's he going to come in? Is he going to park right under that flamethrower? Looks like he might. Again, haven't seen this one. Probably 3 shocks from where they're going to settle. Fire the core. Shock, shock, shock. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and dropped. Yeah. Nicely done. So we got the 990. I say that like it's significant, because if you look, we're doing kind of every other. It looks like every other one we're alternating wins and losses pretty much there, which kind of doesn't bode well for this op, since we just had the win. But hopefully we can string together some wins, because boy, looking at it, we have not had consecutive choke point wins in 2 weeks. But at any rate, onwards and upwards, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the next video. Take care.